Okay, so I hope you watch the bad customer service clips. They are quite funny, right? I love how Jerry Seinfeld is like, so you can't keep the reservation, but you just hold the reservation. So I think the point is well taken, right? That we want to be sure that we provide amazing customer service. And sometimes I think we lose track of what is sensible and how much we really do need to elevate what we do. So here, this little clip here says how to lose customers fast. And so again, I want you to think about all your customers, right, that we're talking about. It's not just your patients, although I want you to think them primarily. So 59% of respondents said it takes just one or two bad customer service experiences to decide not to work with a company in the future. So it's very important that we think about delivering customer service that's remarkable, and don't allow ourselves to have any other mindsets around our patients. I also wanted to sort of show this funny little clip. It's consequences of bad behavior. So we just lost another customer due to your bad service. I didn't think that would happen. Well, what did you think would happen? Not only is he not coming back, he'll probably tell his friends. Oh. So honestly, this is what happens. And we have experiences with this. And so, one of our challenges as a company is how do we transmit that value of customer service onto everybody in the field? And hopefully you feel a sense of desire to really meet customers where they are and provide service that is really impeccable. So again, think about who your customer is, and I think about all the possible customers that you serve, and in particular a patient. Think about your role in relationship to a patient, no matter where you are. And I'm going to walk through these five steps of customer service. So foundations of remarkable customer service is number one, an impeccable product or service. Okay, so it's easy to think of it more as like a product, right? If you had an Alexa or an iPhone, got an iPhone right here, right? So this is a product, but you also are providing a service, and your service, the service that we're providing to customers is expected to have certain qualities and be of a certain quality. So you can think about what is the product or service you deliver to your customer. So if you're providing nursing in the field, that's your service. You are delivering in-home shift nursing. If you're a case manager, you are delivering skilled medical case management and supervision. If you're meeting with one of your mentees, you are providing mentorship. That is your service. You are providing them guidance, support, clarity, expectation setting, goal setting. All those things are part of the product or service that you're providing. So customers, this isn't shocking, right? Customers want defect-free products and services, right? So when you go to a restaurant and you sit down and you'll order a hamburger, you want the hamburger to come to you defect-free, right? It'd be nice if it was made with fresh ingredients so you don't get sick. It would be nice if the ingredients itself, it was placed nicely on the plate and cooked to the appropriate temperature that you'd requested. And if it said it came with French fries, that the French fries would be there, and hopefully they would be hot and not soggy and cold. They might be appropriately salted. These are what we expect. We would prefer not to have our French fries burned, right? That would be a defect. So customers want a defect-free product or service. Products and services are expected to function perfectly within foreseeable boundaries or circumstances, right? So there might be occasional failures in the product or service, but ideally these failures are extremely rare. So you certainly in the field wouldn't want to have a circumstance where you're providing care and you don't know how to do something that the patient needs. Anything on that plan of care and not knowing how to do it and doing it with confidence means there's a defect in the service, right? Being able to provide the service in a safe and confident way, that's basic. So we need to make sure that there is quality service without any kind of defects. Knowing how to use the equipment, knowing how to document what you're doing so that it matches the plan of care. One of your customers is, in fact, the payer. So whoever the payer is, you have the customer who's the patient, but you also have the customer who is paying for the service. So if it's the insurance company or Medicare or Medicaid, they have an expectation of having perfect quality product and service. And so for them, the product would be the documentation, that everything about that document is error-free, that it's clear what's going on, that it illustrates accurately the patient, and it illustrates the continuity with the plan of care. So that's very important for you to think about. Your customer is also the payer. Your customer is also the state Department of Public Health who regulates what's okay. They have a need for specificity in how things are done. So you've got a lot of customers, and all of those customers have different definitions of what defect-free means and what would be considered a circumstances that's okay for there to be an error or a defect. And I can tell you that there are very little errors, room for errors when it comes to the Department of Public Health or to CMS, but in particular to DPH. They're the ones who really look at all of this. So your product on a clinical level, your service needs to be stellar. Your service as well in the home and how it's expected by the family, that's also a service. So if the family expects you to come in the home, and part of their expectation of the service is that you don't make a mess in their home, when you do, that's a defect in the service. If they expect you to read stories while you're with the patient, that's an expectation. That's what they expect. That's part of the service. If you don't, that's a defect. So all these different aspects constitute what the service is. So how could you personally improve your service and whatever it is you're delivering to your customer? Which defects need to be addressed? And you might find, there are certain things I don't feel confident in doing. Or I notice that I get returned notes from quality assurance, and so these are indicating some kind of a defect or something that could be interpreted by one of my customers as a defect. And so these are opportunities for us to correct and make adjustments. So if you find that you're getting a lot of that, it's a good idea for you to sharpen your saw, talk to your mentor or supervisor, and or call into the office. You can always speak with the clinical supervisor, or you can always speak to the administrator. You can certainly ask me. I won't be able to help you too much with clinical aspects, but it's important for you to understand what a defect-free service in the home with the patient that you're serving looks like. And if you're the scheduler, what that service looks like. And if you're the human resource person, it's important for you to know what that looks like. So important for you to understand it. And if you don't, then this is a good opportunity to help you understand it. So impeccable product or service is number one. You have to have that. Number two. Let's see, before we get to number two, here we go. So number two, foundations of remarkable customer service. So here you see number two is delivered. So an impeccable product or service, number two, delivered by a caring, thoughtful, friendly person. So I just thought this was a funny little comic strip that shows our woman at the counter, the man approaches, boy, she's got a face. Look at her slouch, look at her body language. Oh, I have something better to do. I'm going to take a phone call. You're not important to me. Just all of this is sort of the illustration of, okay, you got to have a great service. And this is what I was talking about. You could be an excellent clinical nurse, but are you delivering it in a caring, thoughtful, and friendly way? So that's what we're looking for. What does, and the question you have to ask yourself, and this is different for everybody and depends on what your product or service is that you're offering and who your customers are thinking about. But what does caring and friendly look like? Caring, thoughtful, and friendly look like to your customer? You got to understand that. So again, it's going to be different for a family and patient than caring and thoughtful and friendly when the DPH comes in, or caring and thoughtful and friendly when you're talking to an insurance company, or caring, thoughtful, and friendly when you're coordinating care with another PT or an OT who might not work for Illume but is doing a shared service agreement to come in and provide care to one of our patients. So what does caring look like? What does friendly look like? What does thoughtful look like? What does it sound like? And what would be the opposite of that? So think about what those types of innuendos look like. And how can you communicate that you care through your thoughts, words, and actions? Next, we have number 3 is, as we said, we want to have a not flawed, perfect product or service delivered by a thoughtful, caring, friendly person. And then it's where the customer is the focus. That's the next piece of this. So what does it look like for you to come into work and be focused on your customer? What does it look like to not be focused on yourself? What does it look like to come to work? Sometimes this thinking can run very deep and can be very sneaky to see. But are you coming to work and thinking about yourself, wondering what's in it for you? Or are you coming to work to be of service? And that's what we're looking for here, is that awareness. And so that when you step into somebody's home, or if you're sitting down to your computer to send an email to a colleague, or you're creating a spreadsheet to deliver a financial report, that you're thinking about focusing on the customer and not on the self. Oh, I don't want to do this, or it's not that fun for me, isn't being focused on the customer. Oh, this is really hard. They didn't do it the way I want. It's really not thinking of the customer. You're thinking of yourself. And I'm not saying you shouldn't think about yourself. We'll talk more about that, and we talk more about remarkable care and the first steps of filling up your cup. You do need to think about yourself, but not when you're delivering care to your customer, whoever that customer is. So what would it look like for you to focus on your customer in the moments when you're delivering care, whether that's a spreadsheet, a phone call to talk about the schedule, or delivering physical care in the home? So think about what 3 changes could you make this week to shift your focus away from yourself and onto your customer? What could you do to sort of focus? And you might find yourself, maybe you have a tendency to pick up your phone, right? And you're looking at the phone, and you might say, well, that's because I'm thinking about, come on, you're looking at your phone because you're obsessed with your phone, and it gives you a distraction because you don't want to stay connected, right? Or you need some entertainment. But identify 3 changes that you could make this week to shift your focus away from yourself and onto your customer. If you're in a meeting, put down your phone. And unless you're all looking together at a computer, together at the same document at once, put away your document. Put away your computer. Don't work while you're talking to other people. That is how you express customer service in a meeting. That's one way. Then, so again, we're going to have a product that's impeccable, and it's going to be delivered by a thoughtful, caring person, friendly person, and delivered where the focus is on the customer, not on the self. And the next thing that they're going to expect in the basic fundamentals of customer service is that it's delivered in a timely fashion. Okay, so what does timely mean to your customer? That's the question you really want to understand. What are their needs, wants, preferences related to time? Is there a time they expect you to do something? Is there some aspect of your service they want at a certain frequency, right? They expect every time you come that you're going to put some AFOs on the patient and do certain physical activities. They expect every hour you're going to do some kind of activity with the patient. You're going to change a pamper or do a cath change, whatever it is. There's certain things they're going to expect. They might expect that at the beginning of every shift, you are on time. How about that? Really, really, really important. The on time and no call out thing is at the very top of the list of most important things you can deliver to a patient and to a family in the eyes of what's really helping them, their needs, wants, and preferences. Top need is they need somebody there. And of course they want for that patient to be cared for and to be safe, so we just can't put a warm body. But it's really important that you're on time. And it's really important that you stay your full shift. And it's really important you don't call out. So if you don't have these elements, right, then we are not providing good customer service. And hopefully we all want to provide good customer service. And finally, after you say, okay, I've got this product, it's impeccable, it is delivered by a person who's friendly and thoughtful, and they're delivering it in a way that is focused on the customer, and it's being delivered in a timely way, then the last piece, and this piece is really key and so important. So take this with you and write it down and use it in your life, because this could change your relationship with everybody you know, from your children to your husband to your tennis coach to your mother-in-law to certainly your patients and your customers and your colleagues. And this is what to do when there's a problem. When there is a problem, and specifically when they're upset and they're unhappy. So a good customer service approach has in place a good way to deal with problems. So we want to have an effective problem resolution process. And so service breakdowns will occur. You will experience moments where the mother of the child you're caring for is not happy. And they're going to tell you they're not happy. And they're probably going to tell your supervisor that they're not happy. There will be moments when this happens. There will be moments when I have this happen, believe it or not. I think, well, if she's the owner of the company, she just, no, I make mistakes all the time. I pay for it and I have to deal with issues with my team and my staff, who is my number one customer. And so I have to use this on a regular basis, not to mention with my 10-year-old. So effective problem resolution can be measured by whether, so solving these kinds of problems that come can absolutely elevate your entire relationship if you allow it to. If you can be customer focused enough, if you can be other focused enough to let go of your ego and let these steps help you, and you'll be able to do really tremendous things. So the idea is that when you have a breakdown, and I see this in my marriage, I'll be very frank, if we confront a problem together, then we both really try to see that the problem, as we resolve it, we don't just get back to where we were, but we see it as an opportunity to grow and to see how we can do things better and communicate better and have a deeper relationship. And we trust that this came about because something needed to be addressed. And therefore, it's our honor and responsibility to confront it and listen. So effective problem resolution is measured by whether you have restored other loyalty. And I would say we want to elevate relationships through remarkable problem resolution. So what does this look like? There are 4 steps to remarkable service recoveries. Okay, there they are. Apologize, ask forgiveness. Number 2, review the complaint with your customer. Number 3, fix the problem and thank them. And number 4, follow up. Sounds pretty simple, right? Let's go into it. So, first step, and I would say the most important step. Well, maybe not the most important step. It's the most important step. Number 1 is apologize. I'm sorry. I am so sorry that this happened. I take responsibility for this. I apologize this happened. Doesn't matter. I take responsibility, by the way, for every single thing that happens at Illume. I don't have to have been there. I could have told somebody to do something different and they did it, and it doesn't matter. When it happens and someone's upset, I am there to listen and I am there to apologize. I am apologizing for the experience that they're having. So what does an apology, what does the person, the customer, want out of an apology? And this is important because this is not about who's right. This is not about who's wrong. This is about allowing a person to feel heard. It is about allowing emotion to find its way and to shift. And the last thing an angry person wants to hear is an excuse or how they did it wrong. And it doesn't, and this is just not the time. The first step is not the time when you fix the problem or you inform them of what they did wrong. Just accept it. So when a customer has a complaint, they want to be closely listened to and they want to be understood, right? Think about your relationships with your counterparts in your personal life. When you're upset, you just want to be heard. You want to know that you are genuinely sorry. I am sorry if they're upset. I'm sorry they're upset. I'm sorry for the whole circumstance. I'm sorry that things broke down. I am genuinely sorry. They want to know that this is a piece that sometimes people, their ego gets in the way, but honor this. They have a need, okay? They have a need to know that you think they're right, okay? And you don't have to completely go down to the end of the earth and say, I'm wrong, but you do need to apologize in such a way that you are taking responsibility and you deeply care about their concerns. They also, through an apology, need to know that you genuinely care and find them important. So keys to an effective apology: convey at the onset that you're going to take his side or share his viewpoint. So you want to try to help them understand that you're listening and you want to understand them, and you're through that process more or less taking their side for the moment. And so you want to make sure that your apology isn't laced with conditions or blame or falseness. I'm sorry, but that is not our policy. When a person's angry and they're complaining, that's not the time. I am sorry. I am sorry. I'm sorry, but this is what I was told to do. No. We do not throw other people under the bus. That's what small children do. We don't blame others. We stand up, we put our big girl and big boy pants on, and we take responsibility in life. We apologize. We let people express what's happening for them, knowing that we'll resolve the rest of it later. Any I'm sorry, but get it out of your language. Just apologize. And the idea here is you stretch out the apology, extending it until the customer begins to really connect with you. And this is the point of the apology stage. Is really you're trying to get to a place where they've softened and they've vented enough and they've communicated enough that they start to connect with you, so that you can start to partner with them, and you can then, in the next steps, not in this step, start to see what we can do. So an unrushed apology will allow your customer to diffuse his or her anger And this will give way to goodwill. And you'll start to hear them say things that show you they're starting to soften. And at that point, this allows you to know that it's time to move to the second step. The most important thing here is to realize that service recovery, any apology, any upset, is an emotional and personal moment in your relationship with that person. And so to connect with customers emotionally, slow down your apology. Allow them the space. And you may need to use a lot of self-control because you may feel defensive. You may be feeling upset yourself, but you must rise up. Okay? You must rise up and allow yourself to hold the space for an apology. Next is step 2. Now we're going to go over the complaint. We're still not going to tell them why they're wrong. We're not going to defend ourselves. We're going to collect information. You're going to ask rudimentary and complex questions about who, what, when, how, trying to get at the heart. Okay, so tell me more about what happened. I met with a mom recently, and I knew that there had been some issues in the home. And so I just asked a lot of questions about, well, what do you prefer? And when is it okay with you if the nurse were to call you in this instance? Is it okay if the nurse were to pick up the phone? You know, in this case, the nurse didn't do that. What should she have done? Getting down to the heart of what it is they're trying to say, what their side is, to see what went wrong in their eyes, and to be able to clearly define the issue. Still avoid problem solving at the stage of defending why. And then you want to just reflect back to the customer. So here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing this is what your need is. I'm hearing this is what you prefer. This is what you are asking for. And again, I'm not committing to anything. I'm simply stating what they are observing and what they're needing, what they say they want. And next is the step where we fix the problem. And so here's where we look to find a solution. And by this time, hopefully they have the emotion has gone to a place where they start to become rational, logical, and you can start to talk to them about what the options are. Here's a proposal. Here's what we could do. I could bring in a team and we could retrain this and that. Here's where I have a challenge with what you're proposing, and let's try to figure it out together, right? So typically we don't do X, Y, and Z. Typically we don't have nurses come 20 minutes early before their shift. There's no, just to be very honest, there's no payer to do that. So let's figure out a way that this can work for you and not have to have that part. Let's help figure out that process. They could come 20 minutes earlier, but then we could have them come 20 minutes earlier, but then we have to cut time from your full system from somewhere. So it's really figuring out the solution. Remember, your customer has been stressed, inconvenienced, and slowed down by what's happened. And that's at a minimum. Okay, I've had situations, and I'm not joking around here, where there have been clinical errors that could have been really scary for mom or dad. And so let's not underestimate the way that they're feeling and how stressful some of these circumstances could be. How stressful is it if you can't get up and go to work in the morning because somebody's not called out? Like if your child can't go to work, it's stressful. You have to rework your day. So imagine that it's not your child, it's an adult. They're pissed, right? They're pissed. So understand where they're coming from. Resolve the customer's sense of injustice by providing something extra. So do go a little extra. Find a way to bring them a smile. Go an extra mile to try to support and serve them. Be in the mindset that correcting this problem for this customer will help make service better for everyone. So always in the spirit of, great, well, thank you so much for sharing this information with us. I really appreciate you walking through all of this with me. And I'm going to take this back and share it with my team and see how we can get better at this across the board. you know, you've identified for us an area of deficit or weakness, and this really gives us an opportunity to improve our process. People will, not only is that a good thing to say, but it genuinely is the truth. We do want that to happen. And the last thing to do is you need to follow up. This is often a forgotten step. We resolve it and then everybody forgets about it. So I got a phone call today. Somebody called me on the phone and had a complaint. They were waiting for somebody to call them back, and somebody didn't call them back. They were feeling frustrated. So I immediately reached out to the person who was supposed to call them back. I got them to call them back, and I still called back. I still picked up the phone and called back. It wasn't that it was been passed on. I had heard the complaint. It was on my voicemail, and right away I resolved it. If I hadn't been able to reach out to the person who was supposed to call them back, or in their mind was supposed to call them back, then I would have called them back immediately and said, let me look into this. I apologize. And that is the first thing I said to her when I called her back. I apologize for what happened. I apologize that we didn't get back to you. Let me make sure that this doesn't happen again, so on and so forth. So you want to follow up, often forgotten step. This ensures the recovery process heals and elevates the relationship you have with them. So you need to do the immediate follow-up, which is that check-in promptly after there was an intended resolution, right? Then there needs to be an internal follow-up, right, that says, okay, here's what happened. I want everybody to be aware and that's exactly in the case this afternoon. I received a phone call from a mom. She was upset about something. I quickly got my information, called her back, did that immediate follow-up. After that, had more internal follow-up with what was agreed to. There's actually a follow-up meeting that's now going to take place tomorrow, and so there's that full next piece of information. And then there's the wrap-up. The complaint may result in an ongoing change to ensure the problem is resolved ongoing. And so it could involve putting in a standing meeting or a follow-up call or something of that accord. So a next good customer service thing would be that after the meeting tomorrow, both members of the people who are going to meet with this mother can follow up and say, I hope everything was okay, but I will also follow up because I was the one who got the complaint. Anybody who was part of it needs to follow up. All right, so that is our foundations of remarkable customer service. Again, you want to make sure you have an impeccable product or service delivered by a caring, thoughtful, and friendly person, which I know you are, and where you're delivering that service with the customer at the center. The customer is the focus, not you. And you're doing it in a timely fashion, the time that they're expecting, and with an effective problem resolution process whenever problems come up. So this is Foundations of Remarkable Customer Service. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a fantastic day. Oh, and go make the world a better place.